Hey y'all, welcome to Culture Cult. My name is Marie. I am the host of the show, and this is a show where I'm telling y'all the craziest stories you've ever heard of from every country in the world. We also have the mission to learn about every country in the world so we can all become less ignorant and learn more about each other. So we are finishing our series on the country of Guyana, and this is like episode 4. So I've already covered 3 episodes on Guyana on creepy myths, legends. We've had some locals on. We've talked about food, culture, really crazy animals that they have there in the jungle. But we do need to talk about the elephant in the room, and that's the Jonestown Massacre. And if you're like, oh my God, not again, not the story again. Well, guys, it happened. It happened in Guyana, and it's like crazy and weird. And it's like, why did it happen in Guyana? Why here? What does this beautiful South American country have to do anything with this crazy massacre cult story I'm about to tell you? And so that's why I wanted to give you a whole series on Guyana before I reached this episode, because poor Guyana, this happened here. Okay. And if you're like, what's going on? What is this massacre? Who's Jim Jones? Let me just tell you, the story is dark. It's very dark. Be prepared for that. It's a story about how a psycho-ass cult leader from America named Jim Jones, and how he led hundreds of people to the jungles of Guyana, and hundreds of people ended up dead through poison and mass suicide. So we're going to cover why the fuck Guyana? Why is this happening in Guyana? How did this man from the American Midwest convince hundreds of people to follow him to Guyana and then all collectively commit suicide in the middle of the jungle? And were there any survivors? Did anyone challenge them or refuse to lay down and die? These are all the questions in the story we're going to be getting in today. Again, it's a heavy one. Be prepared for it. I don't usually cover murder on this podcast, but we are talking about Guyana. And if we're going to talk about Guyana, we do have to talk about the Jonestown Massacre. It's a good one. Buckle up. This is part 1 of a 2-part series. Enjoy. Introduce yourself and say a really cool fact.
My name's Emma, and I've been taking probiotics for the last month.
Hi, I'm Julia, and fun fact is I'm with my grandmother babysitting the dogs because we have no electricity and water in Asheville.
Wow.
Which one's worse, my probiotics or Julia surviving the massive hurricane?
Definitely.
This is my weird fact. When I was a kid, I always wanted tattoos of things, and I wanted ICXC as a tattoo. Which I don't know what that means, but I think it means Jesus Christ in like Greek ancient Latin.
You wanted what? I'm pretty sure that stands for like. I'm pretty sure it's like mocking him. It's like this is the Son of God or something like that. I'm gonna look it up.
I get Son of God on my body.
To be fair, it's kind of metal.
Okay. Well, we're here. First of all, just genuine question right here, right now. What do you know about Guyana?
I'm not gonna lie. All I know is that it's a tiny country in South America, and that it's conquered by the French, maybe? Spanish?
No, it's the only English-speaking country in South America.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Oh, but I see what you're talking about. So there's French Guyana.
Oh.
And then there's Suriname, which I think was the Dutch colony. And then there's French Guyana. And so that's like, it's all right next to each other. Venezuela, French Guyana, Suriname, and then Guyana. And that's why you probably got confused.
Okay, that makes sense. And I have heard of the Jonestown Massacre, but I don't actually know like the details of what happened.
It's actually,
I don't even know anything. I didn't know. I thought Guyana was a person, so we're doing well.
Like a celebrity?
No, like I thought that was like the person who conquered people. I don't know. I really didn't know.
That's okay. That's okay. We learn something new every day.
This one in the video, okay? Guys, we gotta have one person.
Actually, Rihanna is half Guyanese. Yeah. It's a fun fact for you. So Emma's right. Julia's wrong. Guyana is not a person.
Sorry, Julia.
We knew I was wrong in the first place.
Guyana is a South American country. It's the size of Great Britain.
Is it really that? I thought it was big. Tiny.
Yeah, it's not tiny. It's not tiny. It's like the size of size of Great Britain.
Wow, I really did not But compared to the other countries in South America, it
Well,
looks
it's
so
next to fucking Brazil.
that's so embarrassing.
So yeah, it looks tiny, but it's probably like it's like, hey, we're average. But so 80% of the land is rainforest, and it's one of the most biodiverse countries in the entire world. So
Hmm.
I did an episode with Cal, and this country is giving very Indiana Jones. Like,
Oh.
not a lot of roads. You can't get to it. You gotta like do like
I think
Indiana Jones shit. It's for a true adventurer because it's like the jungle is so remote. It's so hard to get to. And what's the Indiana Jones that we like, and what's the one we don't like? One with the
I
annoying girl.
we don't like the oh, I forgot. We
Second
like
one, right?
the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and we like the Last Crusade, whatever the Temple of Doom. That one sucks.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Well, it's like a big, if you're like an
that one
adventurer,
has
like this is your country. And yeah, it's the only English speaking country in South America, but it was a colony and they brought slaves over from Africa. And then when they were free, then they were like, okay, well, we still need labor. So then they're like, let's go to India. They bring Indians over. And then when that wasn't enough, they go to China and they bring
Hmm.
Chinese people over. So it's
It's pretty diverse.
so diverse. Everyone's mixed. Everyone is mixed. Like the language is mixed, the food's mixed. They actually all celebrate each other's festivals, which is so sick.
That's cute.
I know, right? So everyone participates in Holi, even if you're like Caribbean or like a different culture, Chinese.
That's honestly like dope.
I
That's
know.
awesome.
It's kind of like
Oh,
how the
well,
world should be. It's like a little
yeah.
micro, like everyone's
Instead of
working together.
killing people because they have different religions, accept and just vibe.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And also the food's incredible because it's like Chinese, Caribbean, and Indian.
Mm. All foods that make you poop.
Yeah, right.
No one's having a good poop day.
No. Guyana is a
probably
probiotic.
because they're used
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, they're
Well,
used to it.
Emma might like Guyana then. Probably
Honestly,
help.
if I hear the word curry, my butthole, like I can't. Like I can't with curry. I can't have it. So maybe I would struggle in Guyana. But yeah, it's really diverse and everyone celebrates each other's festivals and religions. Like you could, it's all open. It's all wide open. And then it's one of the only two countries in South America that drives on the left side of the road. And yeah, so it's like very jungly, very remote. And everyone lives on the coast and everyone lives in Georgetown pretty much. And only native people live in the jungle. And it's just very, very hard to get to. So I wanted to give you this episode. This is going to be in two parts. So that's why I just want to just jump right into the story because the other episodes are saying way more about Guyana. What do y'all know about Jonestown Massacre?
I've heard of it, but like I feel like it's one of those things that like I need to be reminded.
If you're into mass hysteria or mass group think, or if you're into like cult leaders, it's the vibe.
If you're into it or just like
interested.
I'm into because how you're making it sound is like, oh, if you want to be a cult leader, listen to this story. You'll get some insights.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's textbook though. So we're going to cover Jim Jones, specifically Jim Jones. And what does Guyana have to do with this like crazy guy that grew up in Indiana and like built a cult? Like, how is that connected? Why is this little innocent jungle fun Holi celebrating country have to do with this psycho ass? So this is part one. So we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna open with a quote I found off of like a YouTube documentary. Someone wrote a comment, and their comment said, "I lived in Guyana, and my father told me when it happened, he was at the airport that day, and there were piles of bodies coming onto the airstrip from planes. The area known as Jonestown is now an abandoned bushlands." So what is today just like abandoned bushlands with a sign that says "Welcome to Jonestown" was where an insane massacre happened. So Guyana. Yeah, we're going to go. So deep in the South American rainforest is a country of Guyana, and there stands over a rusted sign in white with green letters saying Jonestown. But behind the sign, there is nothing but overgrown trees, birds, and a heavy, ominous feeling that something went very, very wrong here. So who is the cause of this? This is Mr. Jim Jones. To start off, you can rip this guy a new one as much as you want throughout this episode. He deserves it. He's a fucker. He's free reign. So to start off, Jim Jones was a weird kid. And the question is, how much of that could be attributed to his very stressful, high religious upbringing? And how much of that is just his personality? So he was born as James Warren Jones, but we're just going to call him Jim Jones. He's born May 13th, 1931. If you're into horoscopes, I'm not, but if you are, he's a Taurus.
Earth.
His parents were Lynetta and James Jones, and James was the veteran of World War One and was living on disability payments because he was a victim of gas in the war. James was gone often, rarely showed any attention to little Jim, and left Lynetta isolated and lonely. She wasn't like the warmest mother. She kind of ignored Jim. She was really more of a free spirit, and she actually didn't have any religion, which is kind of crazy back then. This is like the 30s. She actually never wanted to be a mom, but she was stuck with a child. And I feel like me and Julie relate with that. Like I would be.
I think the amount of times if people read our child chats, they would not want us with children either. Because we sat at the beach with my friend Abby, and we were like, oh yeah, we'd put a child on a leash. We'd strap them to a leash, and so they could just frolic in the ocean and not drown. But we'd put a child on a leash.
No, yeah, I don't think I'm like great around kids. And like, I don't want to be like the reason I create cult leader because I didn't want to be a fucking mom. Yeah, so I kind of feel bad for her. She's like, it's probably like the 40s or the 50s, and she doesn't want to be at home.
Yeah, and I feel like that's also tough because the expectation they have of mothers back then and like being a housewife.
Oh, you should be happy. This is your life's purpose. Yeah. And she's like, I hate my kid. I hate my husband. I hate religion.
You're outcast.
I'm sure like they fell in love with everybody. I'm sure he went off to war and then came back a different person. And then like she got pregnant. So it's just not a good home. So she didn't want a child. That increased stress between the couple, leading the dad to have a nervous breakdown. And then he couldn't work. And now they're just evicted from the farm. So it's not a good start for baby Jim. He has no stability in the home. He has no warmth from his parents. It's not a good mix. So now they're homeless. They were taken to Lynn, Indiana. This is a town known for its conservatism, really high church-going population, predominant attendees of the KKK. So lots of churches, cults. This leaves a lasting impression on Jim. So yeah, his family life wasn't great. He was terrified of his father. He would spend as much time as possible roaming around or reading. He had a very lonely childhood, but the old ladies loved him and took pity on him. And what do old ladies love? Say it together.
Jim.
Oh no.
Oh, Jesus.
Church. Yes, thank you. I love church and Jim.
Church and Jim.
So he was like, all right, again, I'm getting attention from these old ladies that they love me. I'm gonna start going to church. So he starts going to church with the old ladies, memorizing scriptures, making religion his whole focus to the point where he was attending all denominations, which is kind of cool. You know, he's a little open-minded. And as other kids got into baseball, movies, or parties, Jim was becoming obsessed with religion and the idea of death. He would go to the woods and recite long sermons out loud to animals. And
poor animals.
Like, what? What is he saying?
They did not want to be there.
Uh-oh. Wait, like this is implying that he had an actual audience. I don't think they were there.
Yeah, you're right. It's not like the animals are sitting around him.
For her newest lecture, I don't think they did that. And he came back with like all the animals came. They're into it.
They're into it. Yeah, well, I don't know. We weren't there. He probably could. Maybe he had a little animal fandom.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, again, his mom's probably like smoking cigarettes and is like, "Fuck my life," and then the dad's like, "I hate my life too."
Mom already left him.
Yeah. So this is just not great. So at age 9, he started to claim he had special powers, which kids definitely say all the time. And he wanted to prove this. He actually climbed on the roof one day and called out that he could fly. And he did.
Did he?
Just kidding.
Did he really?
Okay. He broke his arm.
And he did.
I'm like, end of story.
Fucking fair enough. He talks to animals then too.
No, he didn't fly. He literally just jumped off the roof and broke his arm. Then he starts to get obsessed with death. And as most killers do, like they start like getting like death animals, things like that. So he starts collecting roadkill and he starts giving them proper funerals. So when he was 10, America is now entering in World War II. And all the kids in the playground are playing like G.I. Joe. He was playing the Nazi in all the situations.
Just not a good start. Not really. Someone should have realized.
I hope the mom's paying attention at the The
Why
pattern.
would she?
It's probably like a counterculture thing for him, though. It's like
Yeah.
he's doing everything the opposite of his parents. So he goes and joins religion, and maybe his dad, if his dad was fighting in the war or something, maybe he wants to be the one fighting his dad.
Oh.
Good.
Guys, I could get into psychology.
Psychological.
I could have analyzed him. I'm gonna quit my job.
No, your fucking job. No, that actually I could see that. And I do think it's like the counterculture thing. Like I feel like he likes to do just what everyone's not doing.
Yeah.
He wants to feel special. So he's like, I'll be the Nazi. So Jim Jones now grows into a teenager, and now he has switched his fascination from God and death to sex. So now he would set up on the porch and give sermons, not to animals, to the regular crew of people walking by getting their mail about sex, and specifically to young children.
Ooh.
Was it like, don't do this or fuck everybody?
I that's a good question. But I have a feeling it was
Either
probably
way, don't be talking to kids about it.
when was like the first time y'all heard about it? Because I've like when I heard about it, but that's not what I feel like the kid didn't understand what was happening, and I didn't know what was happening.
I mean, I think we've talked about this before, but I think both of us learned about it at a really young age somehow. And yeah.
We didn't have Jim Jones. So how did you learn about sex?
We have Jim Jones preaching us about sex. So
figure it out. Like especially in the age of the internet, it's really easy to like I wonder if kids figure it out younger.
Oh, totally.
I mean, I know there was a lot of times where I would go upstairs and sneak upstairs and end up seeing what was on TV that dad was watching. And it was either a murder scene or a sex scene.
Oh.
And I was like, what the fuck are they doing?
I mean, I feel like I felt sexual really early. I loved the whole like Jafar situation.
We loved the Phantom, you know.
And Phantom of the Opera.
Jafar, ew.
I know. I like that she was like chained up. Not that it was because it was Jafar. But these are my early adolescent thoughts.
Oh, I never thought about this. Jafar was too ugly for me to think about that. I was
it's not the ugly, it's the power.
Yeah, I did love the Phantom, and that's something we both.
That's everyone's fantasy. Well, I heard about sex first because I remember I was in second grade or third grade, and I walked up to the table, and all the cool kids were like whispering, and I was like, oh, I gotta get in this. So I get in there, and my crush, Cole Campbell, by the way, he never grew up. Like he literally, I think he was like 5 feet his whole life. Like he never.
Well, you got him when he
also turned out ugly. I'm really happy about that. I like looking out. I'm like, yeah, he's short, skinny, and looks like I don't know, like a bug. I'm like,
who?
Wait, which one is this?
My crush from middle school, like before we moved to Austin, he was like, I had a massive crush on him. He came.
Wait,
he was
what was his name?
Wait, don't put that anywhere though. Don't put that.
Okay, bleep that out.
Yeah. Like he stumbles upon this podcast somehow.
I'm just saying, like, he's gonna be like, what the fuck, if he ever did. Like, I just don't want it out there.
Well, I think that more what the fuck would be that he's skinny and looks like a bug.
Yeah, I think that's like the rude thing.
Fuck, I look like a bug.
Fuck you.
I'm not worried about you having a crush on him. He's worried about the fact
Yeah, he's like, damn. No, but the thing is, yeah, anyway, I remember thinking, I was like, we are probably gonna get married. And then finding out another person in my class that he liked a different girl, devastated. When I found out I was moving, I remember I would like say things to him, hoping he would like have a really fun response. Like I remember one time I was like, I have a headache, and he was like, take some medicine. And I was like, fuck. But I do remember that he was the first person that I told that I was moving, and he was like, no way. And I was like, yeah.
Damn.
But then, no. But then they all gave me a book when I was like leaving Tennessee. They gave me like a goodbye book, and everyone wrote me a letter. And some people wrote these really like heartfelt ones, and he was like, it was nice knowing you. Hope to see you later in life. And I was like, oh my God, he hopes to see me later.
Fuck you. Oh, I don't think that was sensitive enough.
Oh no, it's horrible. At the time, I was taking what I got.
Yeah, he really hopes to see me later.
Anyway, let's get back to the story.
Getting back to sex and Jim Jones. So he was going out there on the porch, just again, where is the mom? He's just exclaiming.
Let's just say the mom is like done with him. She was done with him when he was born. Done with him now.
I'm just sure she's like, God, my child. And he's like, a penis, like on the fucking porch.
I'm pretty sure she sat there being, when someone was like, that your son? She's like, nope.
That's not him. That's not him.
He died when he was young. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, he was giving stories about sex, but he still had this like church thing going for him. He always wore his like Sunday's best. He was really into just dressing well, and he never spoke unless you spoke to him. So he already was like understanding like power dynamics and stuff. And he would often challenge teachers in debate, which I did too, but only my math teachers.
You're a murderer.
And so there's a really good YouTube called Mystery and Makeup. Have you heard of it? This girl puts on her makeup while telling like fucked up stories, like a lot of makeup. Sorry, but it's just like a lot of makeup. So this is a comment I found in her YouTube that someone had gone to school with Jim Jones. So he said, my grandfather went to school with Jim Jones, not like high school, but theology type of school as an early 20 something. He said the best way to describe Jim Jones was charisma. He said there was always a group of people around him listening to his theories and ideas. He said that when Jim spoke to you, it felt like you were the only and most important person on earth. He said Jim was able to manipulate and maneuver any situation to his own desire. My grandfather said Jim scared him a lot. Later, when the church was in process of moving to Jonestown, Jim got in touch with my grandfather and invited my family to join them. He said it only cost $25,000 per member for the family to join them in paradise in Guyana. I'm really glad my grandfather passed on that invite. And honestly, he would not have written that YouTube comment because he would not have ever existed if his grandfather went, but we'll find out why. So yeah, he's really picking up on like how charismatic he is. So Jim's early talents.
A lot of murderers are charismatic. Like they have that vibe
I think
to it.
that's like a key. I think it's like a psychopath thing because they know how to like they don't have the emotions in the way, so they can just really manipulate and like they're acting. They know how to like mimic charisma and like all that.
But where do they get that from? Are they like watching someone or is it
No, I
just
think
innate?
that is what they do. They like, yeah, they just mimic. So he's probably good at like watching. Yeah, if he's going to church, watching preachers, watching how like confident they are,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it's definitely like a trait among like cult leaders and stuff.
Oh yeah, you have to be charismatic as a cult leader. You can't be like an introverted book nerd. No one's gonna
No,
come.
no one's coming.
Just the animals.
So his early talents were nodding eventually to him becoming a cult leader, and because the man knew how to organize, he knew how to get people to sign up for things, and he did actually join a baseball league at some point, and everyone was like, "All right, you're cool," until he dropped a dog from a roof and killed the dog, and then everyone stopped coming to the baseball league.
Yeah, well, fucking fair enough. Fucking hell.
Yeah, that's
Dog.
so wrong. Poor dog. It's when you start killing animals that I absolutely hate you. I'm sorry.
Why? He also has a thing with roofs.
Well, wanted it to fly.
Yeah. So at that point, yeah, home life is just not great. I mean, the dad's becoming a raging alcoholic and just slowly fading away. And the mom starts just having an open affair. The whole town fucking knows. She's like, I don't give a fuck. Again, I hate religion. I hate children. I hate being a wife. So the couple finally divorces. And then, but now Jim and his mom have to move again. So
why is he going with the mom?
He has to go with the mom. Where's he going to go?
Just disown yourself and leave.
Also, this is crazy that he's only a teen at this time. Like,
all this has happened already.
Yeah.
So they moved to Richmond, Indiana. New high school, no scary alcoholic dad, fresh start. He is graduating with honors while holding a full-time job at a memorial hospital at 17. So now he's free. Like he's free to do his thing. It was at this job at the hospital he fell in love with a nurse named Marceline Baldwin. And they got married and they moved to the big, big city of Indianapolis, Indiana, which is known for the KKK again. So you'd think this would be perfect for him, right? Like this is like cult, it's evil. No. He goes the other way. He actually becomes a huge fan of civil rights and racial integration and socialism. But he also throws dogs off roofs.
This is why I think he's a psychopath. Like he's trying to find the right community to manipulate.
Yeah. But also, what about his wife? Like, did she see something wrong? Like, did she ever notice anything? Do we know anything about her?
If he's that good at manipulating, I mean, who is it? Was it Ted Bundy? Ted Bundy was also married.
That's true.
Oh wow, that's scary.
Yeah,
that's really scary. No, because I'm sure like she's meeting him at 17. She has no idea about the dog and the preaching sex on the porch. She has no. She's just getting this like socialist like civil rights person that's presented to her. So like she probably thinks he's great. So major curveball. He's not joining the KKK. He's actually going on the other side of the team. and he's all about civil rights. So in 1952, he realizes he wants to be a student pastor, and he signs up at a Black church. And he fell in love with Black churches because the white churches were stuck up and segregated, and he felt like no one even wanted to be in the church. But when he found this church, he loved the drama of the preacher, which is what you were saying, Emma. He starts mimicking preachers. He loves the drama of the preachers, the storytelling, the dancing. He did really well here. And he set up a youth center, and he was started taking off because he loved performing on stage and attracting a crowd. And then he was like, okay, what's the next step? Like, how can I take this further? So then he was like, I will start to claim that I can heal and command headaches to go away on the point, on the dot. Coughs can stop immediately. And he would plant people in the crowd to fake sick to gain more attention.
Yeah, that a lot of churches do that, actually. They're like, we're gonna heal this dude. And then like make a whole scene about it. Yeah, it sounds very theatrical. That makes a lot of sense for him.
Yeah. Versus like at white churches, they're just like, all right, open your hymn to this hymn and sing it.
Woo. Yeah, there's this like Eddie Izzard skit, and there's this one part where they're like, oh, like I've never seen what I think like white people they manage to sing hallelujah in the most depressing way. They're like,
Yeah.
hallelujah. Hallelujah. Like
it's kind of true. It's kind of true. Yeah, no, I mean, I actually have always wanted to go to a Black church. Like that's like a list on my list because I want to get in the crowd. I want to get in the.
But why would we say it happily? Like, look at the shit we're learning. We're all sinners. We all deserve to die, and no one's perfect.
Black church sounds more fun than that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Why are they happy to sing hallelujah? If that's what they're.
That's true.
Oh, I'm a sinner. I'm going to die, and I should just pay the church so I can go into heaven.
You know who you sound like? Who? Lynette, the mom. The religion-hating whore.
You're acting like Lynette right now.
You're also Lynette because you don't like children. So
I don't like children.
2.0.
I know. When I was reading this, I was like, I could have been Lynette easily. So he starts to go around as a speaker and attending assemblies, even all the way to LA to perform at a healing convention. And from there, he just fucking blows up. He's like wildfire.
Wait, would this be like 60s right now?
So he started the church in 1952. So like probably like 50s. Like
I feel like this is a bit ahead of its time. I feel like this kind of stuff was like, I don't know, maybe not. Actually, I don't really know.
I feel like the 50s is still very churchy.
Yeah, but in terms of like this whole kind of like healing convention stuff like that.
Oh, true. So yeah, he went to this convention and he just blew up. He was wildfire, filling all the seats with all the races, especially Black members loved him. He insisted they sit up front because they never got to sit up front in anything or do anything. So their freedom was his priority, and he loved the Black community. This was a huge issue for a lot of people back in Indiana. So he was like, fuck it, I'll start my own church. And it's called the First People's Temple Church. And at this point, he seems like he's doing well. He's a progressive leader, a leader in a segregation. He's a big influence in the Black community. Church is growing numbers in Black and white members to see these healing performances. And he started appearing on radio shows and TV. And his big phrase was, let my people go.
Moses.
Oh my God, Moses.
Oh, that's not his. That's Moses'.
That's Moses. Have you ever watched?
Talk about plagiarism. Did y'all read the Old Testament?
Marie, go listen to the song "The Plagues." You'll understand.
Oh, it's like the Prince of Egypt.
Actually, you know what? I'll sing it right now.
Oh, never mind. Actually, let's keep going.
Cut. Wait, that's the Prince of Egypt, right?
I sing the pestilence and plague into your house, into your bed, into your streets, into your treats, into your drink, into your bread.
Where's the part where they sing "Let My People Go"?
It's after the pestilence.
Skip that, I think, because Julia might have to go through the whole song to get there. So,
okay, so this is actually kind of cool. Because of his actions, movie theaters, parks, restaurants in Indiana started to become integrated, even hospitals.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
That's actually, I think that's in a small KKK town. Yeah, he's like integrating these places that are like these people have never.
That actually sucks because he could have really been a good soldier then. He could have really done good in the world.
If people don't look in his past history. So he grew up in terminal homelessness, poverty, alcoholic dad, but he rose above it. He's now a thriving civil rights community leader. He doesn't stop when things get tough. He sounds like a hero. As we know, this is not where it ends. This simple little church in Indiana will end up with almost 1,000 people choosing to die in a mass suicide in a country very, very far away from theirs. A South American country we're learning about today, Guyana. And so
I did know about this. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So they
crazy.
chose to die? It wasn't just he
Like-
killed all of them?
He convinces all of them. I think he
Mhm.
basically like manipulates all of them into
All
like
of
a
them. Almost 1,000 people are going to die because of him and because of this
Yeah.
church that they're signing up for. So we got a sense of who Jim Jones is at this point, who are his followers. And there's actually only a few survivors of those 1,000 people that are going to survive this atrocity. So their names are Krista Miller. Krista Miller is a woman who grew up in cotton fields in Texas, landing a teacher job, and even buying a home in Los Angeles where she was introduced to Jim Jones. So she took herself from cotton fields to buying a home in the middle of the fucking 50s in America. As a black woman.
Queen.
You know what?
Queen.
This is actually such an interesting like perspective on America because people are probably this is like the time where people are breaking out of like the cookie cutter white fence thing. And so I feel like people don't really have that sense of like what's good and what's bad. And so if someone's like, let's all move to South America and be free, like you're probably like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, they don't know who to follow if it's not the church. And so this guy has come and taken advantage of everybody.
Like he
It was
gives
very freedom for them because he was the only one treating them like people. So he really was able to manipulate them and then murder them. No freedom. This guy gives them a slice of freedom and then convinces them to all murder themselves. That's sad.
Yeah. But what do they know? And he's clearly preying on a very specific kind of crowd. No one who's experienced freedom at all. So these people that are survivors, like, I don't know. It's just amazing that they listen to themselves despite everyone not. But we're going to get into that. So yeah, Christy Miller worked on cotton fields, bought a house in Los Angeles, and she was introduced to Jim Jones. Then there's Catherine Hyacinth Thrash, born in Alabama, and she met Jim Jones at a church in New Jersey. And then there's Odell Rhodes, who was a homeless Vietnam vet who escaped life on the streets to find a home at this church. And then he's gonna have to find himself escaping the jungles in Guyana after this too. So of the members, 70% of the people who are going to die in Jonestown are Black. They again, 70%. He knows who he's
Was he
preying on.
actually all for Blacks or was he just trying to kill them?
I don't know.
Did the KKK really enter his mind? But he did it in a way where he could do it the most.
Maybe I think that definitely could be a part of it, but it could also just be like he found a community that was willing to follow him at the time or something.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 70% of the members who died in Jonestown are Black. And they went there to escape the brutalities of prejudice in life in America and the Jim Crow laws in the South. Or they were troubled adolescent teens looking to escape their home life or drugs, and they're just looking for hope. And Jim Jones was giving that. Yeah.
That's fucked. Fuck him. That's fucked.
All these people think they're getting a second chance.
I know, and they're not. And they're just getting death, and that's so rude.
Yeah. They think they're getting a second chance at life, and then Sky, we hate him. So now we're back at First People's Church, Jim's stomping grounds, where he was still all about these healing ceremonies, and it's an integrated church, but things are about to go south. In the early 1960s, Jim starts to become obsessed with the idea of a nuclear holocaust. And then, like most crazy fucking people in the world, he has a dream. And he had this dream that the entire American West became destroyed by a nuclear bomb. And he became obsessed with the ideas of 9 places to hide, which is a recent article that he found in the newspaper. And these are 9 places to hide in the world where you can't be touched by this like nuclear bomb, I guess. One of these places includes Brazil. And Jim just up and moves his family to Brazil. So he moves to Brazil for 2 years. And as he was living in Brazil, his distrust and hatred toward the government grows and grows. So in 1963, he went back to Indianapolis and he was like, okay, y'all, I need all y'all to come with me. I want y'all to all move. I want my whole congregation to move. And we're going to move to one of the 9 safest places on earth against a nuclear bomb. And that's Northern California. So now he's like, I need y'all Indianapolis people to come to Northern California. So in the summer of 1964, his family and 140 people sell their homes, pack their shit, say goodbye to everyone they know, and they go to Redwood Valley, California. And they open up a officially Christian recognized church there, and it just grew. This is also with his personal life when he starts to be a fucking deviant and he starts cheating on his bedridden, sick wife with a young 19-year-old church member. And his wife can't divorce him, and she's stuck. And he also tells the church about his cheating with this 19-year-old. And she's sick.
Yeah.
How old was he?
Oh, he's born in 30. He's probably 40.
This is crazy. He must have been like, I think he just found like the right time. He must have been crazy charismatic to convince over 100 people and then eventually 1,000 people. He must have really just been like doing something different at the time or something. Like, I think that that's like a common thing. He's appealing to people who are like, fuck this government, fuck this country who like promised me all this stuff, and someone's offering you like a better way of life. You're probably gonna take it because he's doing something different, and then it's also a psychopath and charismatic, so you probably can't see the evil intention behind it. Like I
But
think
he's
that
showing them a better life. So he's not only proving he can give them a better life, but he's showing it to them so they have a reason to follow him because he's like, you are treated the same here. So it gives them even more of a reason to trust him.
I'd probably follow him. It's racist here. I have no rights here.
he found the cracks and then you knew how to like slither into them.
If you followed this whole man to figure it out, do you think you would die for him?
Well, you don't start
that's the
there.
thing.
You don't
Yeah.
start there. You don't find that out. This is after like this is kind of like any abusive relationship. The abuser doesn't just start at 100. They start at like 10, 20.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're like, wait, this guy beats me, but he loves me, I think. He doesn't beat you the first date.
Yeah.
It's like when you're years in and you waste all this time and then you self-shame and spiral and like so I mean, but also with your point, Emma, you're like, how did he convince all these people? You probably have to convince like a portion, and then the rest of them are like, hey, I know you're feeling this way too. You need to come to California.
Yeah.
So he just has people advocating for him. So all these people moved to California. And that's when all these like survivors that we're talking about, Christine Miller, Hyacinth, and Odell Rhodes, are all going to end up at this church in California. So I'm sorry, I'm about to read a quote from, I think, Hyacinth's testimonial. She says, when Jones moved his ministry to California in 1965, Hyacinth sold her house, giving the money to Jones, and she and her sister followed him to San Francisco, then followed him again when the ministry moves to the country of Guyana in South America's North Atlantic coast. By then, the church was clearly a cult, and Thrash became disillusioned with Jones, saying he was mad, paranoid, he's a drug addict. But she didn't leave because she couldn't leave her sister or her community behind. Other sources state that Jones' treatment of his followers was often less humane. They were regularly humiliated, beaten, blackmailed, and were often coerced or brainwashed. So California is like when the abuse starts to come out and the media is catching on. They start shitting on Jones, calling him a fake because of his healings that are fake. And now, of course, the media is the enemy. It is the agent of the devil himself. So he starts going against the media, and he starts to lose a couple of followers because they're going to the media saying there's financial abuse, there's mind control, church members are being fucking beaten. And of course, there's the classic cult thing to do, which is tax evasion. So his response was like, all right, we got to do mass suicide. I need to leave no witnesses. I want the ship to burn. I want everyone to go down. He starts kind of getting into the idea of suicide, and he actually attends a suicide memorial in San Francisco of those who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. And he's quoted saying he felt suicidal himself. So those thoughts are starting to occur in his brain. Since San Francisco was on his ass, it's time to relocate everyone to another one of the 9 safe havens from nuclear bombs, Guyana. This is now 1973. So he's been this like psycho preacher now for 20 years. So it all sounds like it's happening really fast, but really, I guess it's been over 20 years. And really, California, it seemed like he started getting really aggressive.
I feel like putting it as a toxic relationship makes sense. Yeah, it's like first they're really charismatic, they love bomb you, and then the abuse comes out, but then you're already locked in, and that's when you're like, what the fuck?
And then you're too embarrassed to tell anyone.
But it's also like you're being blackmailed half the time too. It's like, well, if you tell someone, no one's going to believe you. You followed me here. You came of your own will.
Yeah.
No money.
Think of like Charles Manson as well. Like he convinced a bunch of people to kill other people too. It's like I think they're psychopaths. Like there's no other way that they could have done this.
There's
Yeah.
also like the little hints of some of the people that followed him probably had this kind of like what Emma said, probably had the same mind as him. They were probably messed up too in some way, or he messed them up as he was going on, which probably ended up happening. Why probably a lot of people in when they moved were coming out, because if they followed him and they saw what was doing, they weren't as stuck with him as the ones that probably came from Indiana.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Imagine you like I just moved there because you told me to move there, and then I realized it's a shit show.
Yeah. But it's like putting that trust in like, I don't know, like a new like way of life. Like I'm trying to think of something like a time where that worked. Like maybe this is like a weird example. I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but maybe like when Martin Luther was like, guys, the Catholic Church is a bit weird. And like maybe he could have started a cult, but instead he just started like he kind of got people off of like the ridiculous Catholic horse. Sometimes when people are saying something different, it's either like they're a genius or they're a fucking psycho, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Really weird example. I just listened to a podcast about Martin Luther for some reason.
So random.
I don't know, because he's an interesting guy. The guys who said it, they were like, if it were not for Martin Luther, like the way we think today, with the Enlightenment and like Protestantism was just like a stepping stone to like people accepting getting out of the religious hole. Like people had no other way of looking at the world. Everyone around them's Christian. Like if someone was like, I don't think that that's true, they'd be like, whoa, how could you even say that? And so like Martin Luther coming out of nowhere, and also he was a monk. Sorry, I've literally just reverted this whole thing, but like it's like it's the same kind of thing. I think it's like a thing where it worked. Like he's kind of like a weird guy. He was super ultra religious. He was a monk. He like studied the Bible deeply, and then he starts seeing these flaws with the Catholic Church. He's like, you guys are like literally going against what this book says. And then they're all like, no, we're not. No, we're not.
No.
And then so basically he starts a whole new sector of Christianity that rejects all like the Catholic bullshit. And not saying that has evolved to be that much better, but like think of how much the Catholic Church has tricked people out of their money and all the guilt and all that stuff. But it's like without that stepping stone, without the Enlightenment, we probably wouldn't be comfortable here today being like, oh yeah, I don't believe in God at all. Like we're the new Enlightenment. And people underestimate what an important figure he was in terms of worldwide thinkers. That could have been a situation where he genuinely was like, just kidding, guys, let's kill ourselves. Like he could have been that guy, but he actually was just like, guys, let's just not do that. Like he just like wanted to like legit follow what he thought was in the Bible. So it's like you never know. When someone's offering you a new perspective, yeah, they could save you or they could literally be the worst person on earth.
Yeah, especially if they start catching a following. I think all these people, they have good ideas, but when they get a following and they get the power, that's when they start to change.
Yeah.
But only if we knew he did drop a dog off the roof and kill it.
No, this guy's been a psycho the whole time.
Yeah. So if they knew that, I don't think they would probably have as much faith in.
This is again where I wish Lynette would stand up and be like, guys, don't listen to him. My son is psycho. I hate him.
Do you think she knows he's out there like literally creating an entire church?
Probably not.
You think she's just absolutely like no idea where he's at, don't want to know. Like
she's like happy the burden's gone. Thank you.
She's probably just glad that he's out of her life. Like if I bet she wouldn't be like, yo, what are you doing? Like, let's stop that.
Yeah,
she'd probably be like, oopsie.
Happy he's
like,
gone.
Created a psycho.
I'm gonna let him sort that out.
Okay, getting back to this. So yeah, he just starts going off the haywire, and he's like, we gotta I want to start talking about mass suicide with y'all. I want to start talking about suicide. I want to start thinking about it. I want to start thinking about mass suicide. And so in San Francisco was just kind of becoming like a political hot ground for him. He's getting too much attention. They're all up his ass. They're all up his business about his tax evasion and his views. So he's like, we got to go find another place to live. Let's go to one of the other 9 safe havens, which is Guyana. And this is where Guyana innocently ends up on this list that some person just wrote in the newspaper. And it's now this place where this horrific thing happened because a psycho read this newspaper. It's probably just like a BuzzFeed article. It's like, guys, here's 9 of the safest places on earth. Someone just probably wrote it. And so Guyana gets somehow in this mix. Summer of 1973, he bought 27,000 acres in the Matthew Ridge area near Venezuela. When I was saying earlier how it's like Indiana Jones in Guyana, this area specifically is extremely remote. Like to this day, it is very hard to get to. There is a small, tiny little airstrip you could probably get by plane. Otherwise, it's the boat. There's no roads. So this is by Venezuela. To this day, it's still this remote. People start trickling over in 1974, where they had just started building this commune in the thick jungles of Guyana. And in 1977, Jonestown was an established community with thousands of members following him, including these survivors that we're going to be talking about. And by the recent growth of the community, it was like a little town. They had work around the clock. They were building houses, feeding, clothing all these people. It also gave all these people a purpose because they were in a community. They felt like, I'm not in America. I'm in this country where maybe there's like less prejudice, and they can just have a working community together. Everyone feels like they have a purpose. But the pressures were building for Jones. And by this time, they were really onto him, and they were calling him a charlatan. And the abuse and the corruption was getting worse. A woman had actually had one of Jones's child out of wedlock. She tries to sue for custody of the kid, and he sent a threat back saying if she were to take action to this, everyone in the camp's life would be in jeopardy.
Oh my God.
So she just threw that.
It already was.
Yeah, but they don't know that, and she doesn't know that. So she's like, "Hey, I want my sole custody of my kid." And he's like, "If you do that, all these people are gonna die." So she wasn't the only woman suing him for custody of their out of wedlock child. Human rights violations were being issued to him, and there were stories of rehearsals for mass suicide at this point. They were rehearsing it. That's fucking crazy.
What did he convince them of? Like, he's promising them safety, and then he convinces them of mass suicide. Like, how did he do that?
What's the suicide gonna help?
At the end, I think explain it a little bit more. That he's saying the U.S. government we're like exiles. If they ever come, they're gonna kill us, and so we need to be prepared. Because if the U.S. government comes, they're gonna rape us and they're gonna hurt us, and it's just best to kill ourselves before the U.S. government gets to us. Because he's instilled that into people that the U.S. government is all this stuff, and which it is, but I don't know. So he's instilled this fear of you made this decision, but if shit goes down, you need to be prepared to kill yourself because we made a decision to leave this powerful government. But again, all these people are stuck there because it's in such a remote area. You'd have to like use a boat to get out of there. Like, you're fucked.
It's actually a crazy story, actually.
Mm-hmm. It's horrifying. And I highly recommend anyone like listening that's going to be listening to this to beware when you look up the photos. This is the 70s. It's not black and white. These are colored photos. It's really awful to see. Like it's just bodies, hundreds and hundreds of bodies just lying there. It's really, really disturbing. So we're leading up to like, how do they get to that point? So there are armed guards there, brainwashing, there's forced labor, sleep deprivation, which like people can tell you in anything in psychology, like that will already limit your brain cells.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So the families of the members that went to Guyana start pressuring Congress to start an investigation. A Congressman, Leo Ryan, was up for the challenge, and he wanted to fly down there with the team to find out in person what the fuck is going on. So on November 15th, 1978, he flew to Georgetown. Then he flew to the closest airstrip to Jonestown, and then took a boat to Jonestown. But Jim Jones knew they were coming. So just like in the Holocaust, when like the Nazis knew like the news was coming, they would make everyone like, they would feed them, and they would make sure like they would be like, say you're happy. That's what Jim Jones is about to do. He's like, I better see a smile on that face. He's prepared, unfortunately, and he's preparing the members for weeks up to the congressman's arrival. And the guards there were watching their every move, and they were giving scripts of exactly what to say if they were spoken to by the congressman. And there were extreme punishments if anyone was to say anything off script. Again, he seems like the person who's going to be like, I will kill everyone if you fuck up. So it's not like, hey, if you fuck up, I'm going to beat you. It sounds like he's going to be one, I'll shoot this person.
Yeah.
He did say it was all blackmail for a lot of it.
Yeah, just pitting people up against each other. It creates a moral dilemma. But it's also, if you just knew there's someone there that could help you, why wouldn't you take that chance? I don't know. It's so scary at this point. So terrifying. So his first day there, the congressman seems impressed by the makeshift organization that they had in the jungle. He was like, all right, okay. Little campsite here. Y'all got like jobs and y'all little homes and stuff. But that first night, one of his reporters was secretly passed a note begging if he can leave and come back with them. And then the Congress made a horrible mistake and decided to bring the note to Jim Jones. Why?
Why wouldn't you just
Why?
go and why would
Bro, that's
you?
the dumbest I've ever fucking heard.
Yeah.
Why? If I had to pass
would
you
you
a
be
note
doing that?
begging for you to leave, why would you take it to the leader?
He's not gonna be like, hey, someone wants to leave the community. Do
Why?
you know why that is?
No, that's actually probably what it
Even
said.
though we hear that you're a complete monster,
Yeah.
why would you go to the one insane person? That's crazy.
And then if I had seen him holding the note,
I'd run. I'd take the congressman's boat and I'd go.
I'm gonna leave your ass there since you fucked this
Yeah,
up.
good luck, congressman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Screwed me
Ugh.
over, and now I'm gonna die even faster.
Also,
now.
it was probably so terrifying to just hand that note to him. It was probably like, this is a life or death situation. And then he takes the note to Jim Jones. So, of course. So he goes up to him and he's like, Jim Jones, what's this about? And Jim Jones was like, everyone's free to come and go. No one's stuck here. If you want to go, just go. Go with the congressman.
Yeah.
Just go with him. And so he said out loud to the community that anyone that wanted to leave was able to by the end of the weekend. Y'all are all welcome, whoever wants to go. And a lot of people came forward asking the congressman to leave for them. So then on the afternoon of the second day, a member lunged at the congressman with a knife, probably baited by Jones to just kill him because now he's seen too much and he's hearing too much.
And he's trying to take away his people.
So now the congressmen were like, all right, you know what? We're going to leave. Like, we're out. Like, yeah, if you want to come with us, sure, come with us, but we're fucking leaving now. So they pack as fast as they can and they start to head to the plane, and 40 other brave members pack up and leave too. Now you're outing yourself as like, I don't fucking like this. The congressman and the crew are packed up. They're headed to the airstrip. 40 other brave members are following him, and everyone's watching behind their back because following them are the guards with guns. Trailing right behind them was a tractor with armed guards. But as soon as people were boarding, Jones' guards pulled onto the airstrip and opened fire with machine guns. Congressman Ryan and 4 others were murdered. Then the guards went rogue and shot the remaining 40 members on the airstrip.
This is crazy, actually. He basically created like a little army. And so he had people killing for him.
And now, if you even thought about leaving, the fuck you can't.
Yeah.
They just gunned everyone down.
Was the airstrip like close enough where the people could hear the shots fired, or did they just think all of them left?
The guards are going to come back bloody. That's a good question. Maybe they're like, they made it.
Yeah, they made it. Or they're like, those sons of bitches never deserved you anyways, Jim, whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a mix of things.
I'm sure it's a mix of things, but what did they do when the congressman never went back? Stupid idiot.
What do you think the United States of America is going to do when you gun down a congressman that they sent there to check you out?
I mean, this is probably why he murdered a bunch of people, mass murder.
And honestly, if he didn't murder him, the congressman didn't have that much evidence on him. Someone lunged in with a knife and there was a note.
Yeah, but also it's like a bunch of people coming with him. I will say, those people, if they left, they're going to talk shit. I'd be like, get everyone out of there. Everyone's being brainwashed. Everyone's being beaten. Fuck him. Fuck Jim.
Either way, they've already they've revealed themselves now. I mean, the congressman doesn't, right?
I'm sure for Jim Jones, he's like, all right, now it's like plan Z. Like I just killed a congressman.
Let's go to suicide.
There's no going back. So the armed guards called Jim Jones, letting him know the congressman was dead. It was then Jim Jones' voice could be heard over the loudspeaker system over the entire community saying, the congressman has been killed. The Soviet Union are not going to accept us as a community anymore and take us as a sanctuary. That was never going to happen. And
so they said the Soviet Union is going to take us as a sanctuary.
Mm-hmm. The Soviet Union is going to protect us from the U.S. government because we hate the government. We moved out here. But he's been telling people this whole time, like, I'm in talks with the Soviet Union so that we're backed by them and not the United States. As if Russia gave a flying fuck.
Yeah, they don't give a shit
about your little jungle community, your psycho ass. So people are like, yeah, you got to pick a side. You're in America or you're Soviet Union. And right now they're in this in-between space, this outlaw space. So it probably felt good to think that like someone's going to take care of us. But he tells them over the loudspeaker that Soviet Union is not going to accept us as a community anymore and take us in as a sanctuary. It is now for certain the U.S. will bring in armed forces and take us all down for the murder of the congressman, that the American forces will torture us, rape us, hurt our children, and beat up the elders. Our only choice is mass suicide.
Sorry. He's like, y'all were a part of this murder too?
Yeah.
He's like, you didn't kill him. You wanted to leave, but you're now going to die because I killed this.
That's actually so stupid. The only way out is not to leave. It's actually just to kill ourselves. That's crazy. That's crazy. And also, it seems kind of premeditated. It sounds like the perfect argument.
I think he's been wanting to kill himself this whole time.
Yeah.
I think the congressman gave him a reason. He probably had the idea in his head the whole time.
Well, they had rehearsals. They already had rehearsals.
True. But I guess he was like, oh, that's the perfect bait for us. Like,
Mm-hmm.
But he probably knew, even with rehearsals, he probably knew someone was going to break his law despite the threat of, and send the congressman a note just to give him reason to kill the congressman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he already had someone like go at him with a knife, so he was trying to do it anyways.
True.
He probably already had that in mind. He probably just hid that, and it was a secret mission for one person that he was like, hey, buddy, come here. You want a secret mission, young man?
Secret mission, young man.
You're going to learn how to murder today. Do it right, or you'll die next.
But now, like, the argument is like, guys, we're fucked. Like, if we don't die, the government's going to kill us. So it's all escalates very, very quickly. Large barrels of cyanide-laced Kool-Aid were rolled out. People started lining up to kill themselves. Women, children, elders, men. For anyone who refused, Jim would comfort them by saying, no need to worry. They're just stepping into another plane. That day, November 18th, 1978, 918 people drank cyanide and then collapsed on top of each other in Guyana's jungle.
That's genuinely like insane. That is insane. Crazy.
Makes me want to throw up, especially if you see the pictures, which I don't really recommend. It's just makes me want to vomit. It's so disturbing. And they're all lining up. So it's a slow, you're watching people just slowly collapse.
Yeah, that sounds like a genuine terrifying nightmare, like hell.
And if you're at the end of the line, now you're just watching everyone just like you're surrounded by hundreds
and you know
of
what
bodies.
Else up is like they probably are like, if I don't drink it, they're gonna kill me anyway.
Yeah, and it will be
because Jim Jones is handing it to you. I feel like I would find a bed or something and hide under a closet or like I would start running in the jungle.
Because I was thinking about it. I was like, if they're giving outside and all you got to do is do the like shoulder trick and just go,
yeah, right.
And pretend to fall, pretend to die. And then when you know Jim is gone, be like, I'm alive. Someone get me out of here. Thank you.
I wonder if you could like hold the cyanide in your mouth. Pretend to swallow.
Fuck up yourself. Your mouth at least. Yeah. I mean, you could do it where you put the cyanide in your mouth. Like if you watched other people and you were back in line, saw how long it took them and then collapsed and then let it like spit it out on the floor, maybe that could work, but you'd still probably have some
in your system.
Or it's you.
Dude, what do you do?
I think my plan would be like get the drink, go somewhere behind someone.
He's handing it to people.
That you have to drink it in front of him?
In front of him.
How did the two people survive then?
So that's actually part 2.
Oh.
So this is part 1 because it's such a big story. But actually, I just had an idea. What I would do if I saw people collapsing, I would immediately just collapse. Like now I would never get in the line.
I would never get in line. Okay, that's smart.
But then you realize you would be waiting hours.
I'd rather wait hours than kill myself.
I know, but just like of hearing everything go quiet.
Yeah, I think yours would be the only way.
It's so disturbing. It's so the more you think about it, the more layers there is to it. Like
this is actually like I don't know anything else like this. Like this is crazy.
Children, that is not okay.
No, because they're already manipulated by their family bringing them in there.
They think
their family
just
screwed them over.
The kids are watching people just drop dead, and then they're in line to drink this thing. Like this is so fucked.
He's also probably convinced them if it's like a Christian community that like, yeah, they're going to be and they're saved. Like,
and they were living in that, and children can be easily manipulated because they just follow what they need to.
Oh my God. It's so disturbing. So, guess who does not drink the Kool-Aid?
Jim
Jones. But he does shoot himself in the head.
Once everyone's dead.
So what the story doesn't end there. So many questions at this point. Did anyone try and stop Jim Jones before this massacre? Where there are survivors, how did they survive? Who are they? What are their stories? Because I don't want to just cover Jim Jones' stupid ass. What is Jonestown today? And what does the country of Guyana think of this mass tragedy that happened on their land? And that's all part 2.
Yeah, that's
Jonestown today is just haunted, and you should really not go in there.
yeah, I bet like yeah, I can imagine that no one wants to go there. That's and it's yeah, what a way to like ruin a beautiful country that he managed to manipulate so many people and then like yeah, I don't know. That is a really freaky idea.
It's so disturbing. Especially if you like watch a documentary on it. Like, and it progressed so much. He went from like a civil rights leader, quote unquote, to this. He went from like, hey guys, I want you to sit up front. You deserve to sit up front.
What made him more? Because you said at one point you were like he was starting. It's like someone went up to the media and was like, he's paranoid. He's constantly paranoid or something. So what was he just going completely insane? Like he was always insane, but he was like, what triggered? Because he seemed like
the dream.
At one point in his life, he seemed like he was okay.
I think he was okay in Indianapolis, whatever the fuck
No, I don't think
place is
I
called.
think he was always looking for an in. I think he was always looking for it. He was killing animals when he was a kid. He was giving these weird sermons as a kid, like people, like sex sermons. Like I think he's always been building up to it, and any good he did always had an underlying
intention.
Evil. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
I think so too, but I think the breaking point in his psyche was that dream. He had like a dream about like a nuclear holocaust.
Yeah.
Or is he just saying that?
He probably never had that dream.
At the beginning, he said he had powers because he was like already convincing people he could heal people. So they probably believed it because he said he had powers and he showed them proof-ish his performances.
No, I think he's always been a fucking psycho.
God.
I think it's like, where does it start from the beginning? Like, my original question was, is it his upbringing or was it inherent? Because his upbringing, he got no love at all, period. I don't think he was shown like any attention till he met the old ladies at church.
So really, what did the old ladies do to him? Because clearly
it's the old lady's fault.
It's the old lady's fault, like the church's old ladies.
I think this is like it's a mix. I think he had a bad upbringing and I think he's deeply psychologically fucked up, and there's definitely like a need for power and attention where he might have never received it. But I don't think the average person can manipulate people like that. That is inhuman.
But that's just because I think that's truly, you have to be born a certain way to be able to do that. And then your upbringing can determine it in a way. Yeah. Like Emma said, you can't just do that, but he was probably born with the ability to do it. And then it's just also how he was upright. He had no love, so he wanted love. So he manipulated his way to get it. Like, it's just, I think it was just his brain.
Have y'all seen We Need to Talk About Kevin?
No.
It's a really weird movie. It's basically about this mom and like her kid, and the kid becomes like a school shooter. And I think it's based off a book. But basically, like, she doesn't do anything inherently wrong. I think she kind of like, I think it's the same thing. She doesn't really want him, but she doesn't like maltreat him or anything. But it's kind of this sense that, but I think the whole thing is, even though that's a tiny part of it, he's always been weird and he's very charismatic. And then ends up like he ends up like having a bow and arrow and kills everyone. But it's like
very similar. Like he wants to take everyone down along with himself.
Obviously it's like it's not like a true story, but it's like, I think it's an interesting, like, it's kind of it's that same idea of like, is it the mom's fault or was he fucked up the whole time? Like, it's just kind of weird.
Just don't join a cult, even though this podcast says cult in it.
We are a cult, but don't join a cult.
Don't listen to this podcast.
Stop listening.
Stop listening.
Okay, so this episode was really about Jim Jones and us ripping him a new one. But what about the survivors of the massacre? Like, were there any survivors? What is Jonestown like today? This has happened in like the 70s. What do people of Guyana even think of Jonestown? Like, what do they have to think about this atrocity that happened on their land? This will all be in episode 2 of the series because A, you've already given me an hour of your time. Thank you. And B, because I don't want this story just to be about this psycho ass Jim Jones. I want y'all to know that there are so many people that were involved in this. Most of them are dead, but there were survivors. And who are they? And we should know their names just as much as we know Jim Jones. And if you want to know more about that, meet me in episode 2 of the story. And if you're like, hey, cool, this is great, but I wanted to learn about Guyana, that's fine. Totally fine. I agree with you. That's why I did 3 full episodes ahead of this one, because I didn't want to just talk about Jim Jones in Guyana. That's, for some reason, his name is now permanently attached to this country. But there's so much amazing food and culture. And I cover creepy legends and myths. We cover crazy animals that are in these jungles. I even have a local on to talk about the country. So those are all in the episodes before this one in this series about Guyana, if you actually want to learn more about the country. I didn't get to dive into that here today because this is such a huge story. So if you want to learn more about Guyana, go ahead and check out the episodes before this. And it's a beautiful country. It needs to be explored and talked about besides Jim Jones. Otherwise, if y'all love me, I will love you if you share this podcast with your best friend, and maybe like they need a new podcast on their way to their commute to work. Maybe go ahead and send them your favorite episode. That would make me super, super, super happy. Otherwise, I will meet you in part 2.